Croeso nôl. Welcome to the latest Fearless in Devotion, sponsored as ever by the Fat Boar. Tim, is the Fat Boar the best thing ever to be on York Street in Wrexham?
It's definitely the fattest and definitely the dirtiest outlet on York Street since
No, it's not.
since the sex shop. That's what I was
Yeah,
going
since the
down. Well,
sex
you
shop.
ruined it for me. The dirtiest outlet on York Street since, what was it called? It was just private shop.
The private shop. It was called the private shop. And if you wanted lukewarm porn and poppers, it was the only place to go in Wrexham.
Don't mention
and
that.
I've heard.
We just went there. It's
a dark start.
It is a dark side. It's only going to get better from this. And the reason it's going to get better is because I'm going to say the words Wrexham 6, Morecambe 0. Tim, was that our best performance of the season?
By a country mile. Let's get the sort of kicker out of the way. Morecambe were dross, like up there, one of the worst sides that I've visited the racecourse in a long time, and I include the non-league years in all of that. However, you can only beat what's in front of you, and we were just levels and levels above. You know, when people say to us, "Oh, well, you've built a League One team with League One players," and it goes in through one ear out through the other, to be honest, because you're just building. We're just building. We've always been building. But yesterday, I was starting to believe that maybe those people had a very valid point, because it was men against boys for the entire 97 minutes where it was. It was just, they were chasing shadows. It was a joy to watch. It could have been more. That's how bad they were. But some of the goals were just beautifully constructed and just a joy. You know, that's 300. That was the 300th goal onto 305 goals now. It's a stat I'm keen to sort of ram down people's throats, because 305 goals in 135 matches under full bags for Wrexham. Yeah, that's an astounding amount considering ball in inverted commas.
Yeah, Parky ball, right. Tommy, you were there. First time in the tech end for quite a while, wasn't it? How did you enjoy that, firstly? Seemed that everyone was there yesterday.
What was that, sorry?
Just seemed that everyone was there yesterday. Like, everyone just congregated for that Wrexham Morecambe match.
Yeah, it was. Do you know what? It was absolutely outstanding, mate. And you know, like I've said to you, mate. You know, I've sort of loved the last couple of years doing the job I've been doing. But as a fan of the club, you just cannot beat being in that tech end when it's rocking like that for a performance like that. It was absolutely amazing. I was very well oiled, as you can imagine, as well. But yeah, it was amazing. You know, performance. Tim's absolutely spot on there, mate. You know, I think Morecambe were diabolical. I was trying to rack my brains and think of a worse away performance than that at the racecourse. I can't think of too many worse than that, genuinely. But take nothing away from our boys. Absolutely fantastic. Every single player was on their game. For me, though, I just want to pick out Jacob Mendy. What a player. I've said this for a long time. He gets his critics. I think he's outstanding. And I think we've got a real gem on our hands there. So it's just difficult, isn't it? Because we've got so many quality players on the bench. How does he fit everyone in?
No, that's the thing. I agree with you on Mendy. I mean, I've always thought that Mendy's a sort of player who can grow with us and can really go up the leagues with us. I think he's got all the raw talents to be a fantastic player. I also think, you know, he hasn't really had full time in football. Even Boreham Wood, I don't think he'd be training all the time. So you put a player like that at his age into full time training, I think he's going to get better and better. And, you know, left wing back, right wing back, the fact that he sort of cut in and scored that goal. I mean, I was thinking yesterday, I mean, I know this is a bit ridiculous, especially Tommy, but Gareth Bale inverted left footer on the right, cutting in for Real Madrid. I mean, you know, obviously I'm being a bit facetious, but that's hard to defend against, isn't it? Someone who can come in and do that, isn't it?
Well, I mean, you speak to any defender at any level of football. The two things, pace and skill, frighten any defender, and he's got both of those. You know, he can still be wasteful at times, but do you know what? If he gives the ball away 4 times out of 5, but he does that on the 5th time, you'll take that all day long with you. So, yeah, I think we've got a gem. And funny enough, Usually, I think it'll be great for us now. James McLean's sort of stepped down from international football. On the flip side, I think Mendy having exposure to international football will be beneficial to us. So yeah, I think it's really exciting times, and yeah, I mean, I've completely forgotten about how bad last Saturday was at Accrington, so that's a good thing.
Yeah, I mean, who are they? We're joined by Barry Jones, chairman of the WST. Thanks for joining us again, Barry. Right, I want to ask you a question about yesterday before we get into the main business of why you're on. But before that, where does Mullin sit in the all-time list? As a guy who's seen us since the 70s,
since the 1960s, I hate to say. I saw.
I didn't want to call you out on that, Barry. I just said 70s.
69, 70. Mullin has gone up to 12th. Everyone said he's got 88 goals in half the time that the Dixie or whoever's done it. He is class. The only thing I would say is Dixie's goals for us were in what's now League One and the Championship. Paul Mullin is way above this league, of course he is. He will become, if he stays with us, if not already, one of the greats of all time. He's up there with Dixie. He's up there with Gary Bennett. Wow, and he's got the players around him that can give him that stuff. To me, he is class. He's a class player. You can't compare different eras for the simple reason that the training's different, the preparation's different, and everything. But Paul Mullin I'm impressed with him. He's certainly the best striker we've had for decades and whatever. And he's going to be one of those that's going to be in when people talk about all-time teams. We did 30 years ago. We did an all-time Wrexham team, and there were people there who'd seen Wrexham in the 1930s, and their perception of who's the best player is quite often different to the latter ones. And I was obviously a young man there, but there were players in there. You thought, wow, I've never heard of them at the time. Yeah, and yet the older the guys who were then in their 60s, they said, look, we've seen them all. So it'd be interesting to do that. One day I'll share that list with you. It's 30 years old now, but it's very, very interesting to see your all-time best team. And obviously, in the last 15 years, other than Mullin, we haven't had too many that would trouble the likes of Arvin Griffiths and Joey Jones, let's put it that way.
No, you're right. Tim, Barry's right. It's hard to compare eras, but you can say how a player makes you feel. Yeah. And at the moment, Mullin, how does he make you feel? And is that in the top 5 maybe players who have ever made you see the word feel again? This sort of strongly about a Wrexham star?
100%. I was thinking about this the other day. I mean, I'm all for looking at stats and 88 goals and 111 appearances, blah 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 blah, which is great. We can dial it well back and look at Andy Morrell and Gary Bennett, the obvious prolific Dixie, Bamford. We can go through all different decades and pull them out of the hat. However, what you just said is right. You look to these players as heroes. Let's be honest. It doesn't matter whether you're 14 or whether you're 45 or 60. We look at them as heroes that represent this club and represent us as people. And he says that. He's gone out there and said, look, I'm representing the people. It's a working class town. I will go out and I'll give 110% every time. And it's precisely that. It's precisely that. And when he came back into the side after that injury, and he wasn't hitting the ground running straight away, which wasn't any great surprise, he was still giving 110%. This is why we think of people like Darren Brace, didn't have a vast amount of talent, but he'd give you 170% every time he was on the pitch, like constant. And that's what you want. And what Mullin gives me similar to probably Elliot Lee at this juncture, is he just gives you hope, right? Which sounds ridiculous given the Wrexham team that are now firing all cylinders, but he gives you hope. And
you know what? No, I know what you mean by that.
Like last week at Accrington, I wasn't there. I was in the Wales games, but it was a similar thing with Bale, and Tommy will attest to that. When you had Gareth Bale in that Welsh squad, there was always hope, because that game could change on a dime, and it would be changed through him because of what he brings to the team, and he will drag a team kicking and screaming over the line, and that's what Paul Mullin does with a band of several other sort of cast members behind him who will give their all for that club. And I'll die on this hill for Paul Mullin. Absolute Stonewall legend right here, right now.
Can I just add Albert Kinsey? Albert Kinsey was the top scorer in all 4 divisions for us in 1969-70 when we finished second in the league. He scored 29 goals, and he had that effect on everybody. Older fans think, what a hero he was. And it still is. And yet as time goes by, people forget about him. But he was great.
Yeah.
My hero.
You're right. It is how the players sort of make. I can remember sort of going away. I think it was Kidderminster in 2002, something like that. And I could see the Kidderminster fans looking at our team, looking at Dennis Lawrence, going, "Who's this idiot?" Looking at Trundle doing keep-ups, saying, "I bet he's bloody rubbish." And we went there and we blew him away. And it's that having the players who have the X factor makes it worth every single time. Me and Tim sat next to each other in Notts County, and we knew that we had Paul Mullin. We knew we had, Dolby playing or whatever like that. It just makes you, it just makes you know that you've maybe got something a cut above the rest, and that's what football is really about. Barry's so pleased with that. He's gone. He's heard enough.
People identify.
Turn my phone off, to be honest.
No, he heard me say Sam Dolby in those words, and he said, "I've had enough of this podcast. I'm off."
People identify on different levels, don't they? It's like Andy Marriott. I have one of my favourite players ever, just because of what he did as a goalkeeper. Kind of gets overlooked because he doesn't get all the glitz and glamour. We can all say Tony Humes, unbelievable player. But even what you mentioned there about X Factor, and it sounds ridiculous, but I'm not putting this player in the same bracket as Paul Mullin, far from it. But you'll just have moments in time you think, God, I remember that day. And Hector Sam, he didn't know what he was doing half the time, and if he didn't know what he was doing half the time, neither did the opposition, and that was the beauty of it. Like, he could conjure something out of nothing. And then other days he looked like he just still wanted to be on the bus. So little sort of enigmatic characters like that are always good as well.
Just one thing before we move on. Hector Sam, the Barnsley football writer, once wrote this immortal line about Hector Sam. Do you know what it is, Tim?
Yeah, it's great. It's
Sam has magic in his feet and sawdust in his brain. Oh, Hector, please come on. Look, before we move on, can I just have a word about George Evans? Because I think he's getting better and better as he gets more and more used to that position. And I think Evans being a bit more mobile than he was when he joined, but also I think people are trusting him a little bit more. And I think yesterday Cannon hugged the right a little bit more, and Lee went to the left, gave Morecambe a lot of problems because everyone trusted Evans in the middle. And when you gave him the ball, he used it. He knew what to do with it. He didn't lose it. He was quite quick. He was like a second ahead of like everyone else about what he was going to do with it. And secondly, I think he wins it back quite a bit. So just a word about Evans, Tommy. How sort of important do you think he can be to us going forward?
He's an absolute Rolls Royce of a player. He's a brilliant midfielder. I was going to say as well, I've been a big champion of Luke Young's pretty much forever. I absolutely love the guy, ultimate professional, and has always been top class every time he's pulled on our shirt. What I would say though, and it's credit to Parky as well, is what Parky's good at. If he gets a sniff of signing a player, and even in a position where it's not necessarily an issue and we're doing quite well, he'll go for it, and because he knows that just those marginal gains that we can make by signing a player like George Evans are absolutely vital if we want to keep improving, keep pushing up the leagues. And as I say, that's coming from someone who's a massive Luke Young fan. But I mean, George Evans is a different level. He's a different standard. Almost, I would probably say yesterday he was a level above everyone else on the field. I would argue yesterday. And yeah, that's exactly what it gives you. It shows you championship quality, 2 leagues below. Yeah, we're very, very lucky to have him. And yeah, I'm just on sort of in terms of improving and stuff like that. And I don't want to jump ahead too far, but it's going to be a very, very interesting few months, especially the summer at the end of the season, regardless of what division we're going to be playing in next year. I do think that we are going to see a bit of a turnaround in playing personnel over the next few months, and some popular players will probably leave. But if he's bringing in lads with the quality of someone like George Evans, then we've got a very, very good few years ahead, hopefully.
Yeah, I know. I think you're right. I think Parky now needs to look to evolve the play a little bit. When he came in, it was all about 3-5-2, getting the ball forward quickly. He needed the likes of Palmer to make that work. Now he doesn't quite need the same sort of striker. He needs someone a little bit more mobile as a foil for Mullin. And that's why maybe he's been using Dolby, and that's why maybe Armstrong will come in January. It's about evolving the team. Now, I know what you mean about Luke Young. I absolutely love Luke Young, and I would have him on the bench every single time because I don't think there's a scenario that Luke Young doesn't help that team. Winning, losing, drawing, whatever. Luke Young helps you. But I also do think that Parky is looking about the next sort of evolution of this side. When even if we go up, we've got to hold our own in League One, and you need people like George Evans rather more than Luke Young, which pains me to say it because I absolutely love him. Right, I just want to leave you with a couple of facts before we move on to our next sort of item. 14 away games left, 4 against teams in the top half, 1 against a team in the top 8. I mean, it's in our hands, Barry, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. We're in a great position. If you'd have said at the start of the season, when I saw, or before that, when we were out in the US, you'd have taken this. We're in second place. I know Mansfield got a game in hand and whatever, but that's games in hand. Our form is fantastic, and also the strength in depth. You look at the bench that we've got.
Ridiculous.
The bench would be in virtually every other team in the league. They'd be starters.
Yeah.
So we've got, and I know we've got a lot of injuries, and normally that injury list would be, wow, we're really struggling. We're not. It's because we've got replacements for every player. And so whether you get suspended, whether you get injured, there's someone else who can take their place, and we're frighteningly good.
Tim,
I have no doubt we will go up this season.
Oh God! As a Wrexham fan, I can't bring myself to say that. I always have to caveat it with if we go up this season, or there's a chance we might go up this season. I'm in sort of like programmed for 15 years of failure that I don't want to tempt any sort of God, so I can't say it. I think you're right, but I don't want to say that. Maybe you're right. I don't know, Tim. Just before we move on, can we just have a final word on this? And we sort of mentioned it, who might come in January. I can't see wholesale changes. I think we've got people who are not even making the squad. I would say maybe 2 signings at the most. Armstrong, maybe we might be locked into. Where else would you sort of see? And what do you think about Armstrong as a new addition?
It's a weird one because he hasn't scored that many for them.
It's been turned, mate. It's been turned.
Yeah.
I mean, think about you. Like, you thought you were joining a new company for a lot more money, and it got taken away from you at the end. Of course, you're going to be annoyed.
Yeah, I know. I think whichever way you look at it, we're going to get him probably for cheaper than what what was initially billed or looking at, before the transfer window. So there is that as a bonus. For the most part, the recruitment has been very, very good, especially the past 12 months. So you have to trust in what they're doing and go with it. So I think that will almost be certain with him coming to us. And then, I think we've had such lousy luck with defensive injuries. I think maybe there could be something there. Maybe because
I've got a point.
20 keeps getting injured. Hayden, yes, he's back in at the moment, but for how long? For O'Connell out again. Tom O'Connor, to Phil Parkinson's credit, I can see why he started playing in there now. It's taken me this long to be convinced by it, but Tom O'Connor was superb yesterday. I think he's starting to believe he owns that now. Like he was winning things in the air as well, which is very, very, very nice to see.
I mean, that Bloxton was huge, by the way. So to win anything in the air from him,
I just thought he was really good. I think goalkeeper coverage were all right. Striker wise, Fletcher will be coming back in and doing the bit part role. Dolby's been reasonably good. Midfield, we're well stocked, aren't we? So I can't see it being any more than 3.
I think it will be 2, and I think you might bring Bryce back in because Bryce can play right, he can play left, he can probably play centre back at a push. I think Bryce is probably your better bet as a utility player above McAlinden, who I don't think he really trusts really. So that's my sort of tip on that one. Right. We got Barry Jones here. He is chairman of the WST. Last time he came on, he talked about the lease and the COP and what it all sort of meant. And there's been some news, which we brought you a couple of weeks ago, that the WST has decided to surrender the lease to the club. It's on a vote now, Barry, isn't it? When does that vote take place?
The vote takes place on Monday, the 4th of December. And it's an online vote. It's been organised by My Voice. And they're the people who organised the sale of the club. So it's nothing to do with the directors of the trust, so that there's no possibility of everyone saying, "Oh, you've just manipulated this." In the same way, there's a trust. The sale of the club, My Voice will organise that. Members will get 7 days to vote online, and then the result will be announced either late on the Monday the 12th or the following morning, Tuesday the 13th. We need, of those who vote, 75% of the members to accept the technical terms, the collapse of the leases. But It's basically getting rid of those and replacing them with covenants on the ground. And we as the trust will then become the custodians of those for however long they're required. So
right. Yeah, no. The only thing I want to really ask you is, so basically, have you got everything that you wanted from the club? And Sean, it's the strength of the covenant, and how sort of watertight your legal team think it is.
We believe it's the best deal we of course, I'm going to say it's the best deal we could have got. Otherwise, I wouldn't be putting it forward. We went, because of various bits and pieces, we went to a King's Council opinion. For those who aren't legally minded, King's Council is someone who's represented the Crown in prosecuting things. A lady called, funny enough, Tozer, no relation whatsoever.
No relation. Well, okay.
She's one of the leading King's Councils in Britain, and I'll say Britain because it's not Great Britain, because obviously Scotland has its own system, and she went through all the proposals and everything. I have to say that the club paid for not only for obviously Walker Morris, who are their solicitors based in Leeds, but they also paid most of the legal costs for Taylor Wessing, who are our solicitors. They're based. Our solicitors are based down in London, And the reason being, because people have asked me, why do we use a local company? It's quite simple. The level of specialist knowledge that you need in property law just isn't available in Northeast Wales. It's as simple as that. So we've got legally binding covenants. Stephanie Tozer said she gave a long judgment, and once again, everyone's saying, well, this took some weeks to organise and to get it agreed. The bottom line is that it's the best deal we could have got.
Right.
And there are loopholes at present that are going to be addressed. One is, and I've been saying this, is that the club currently can move away from the racecourse. If there was an MK Dons position, they can do that. They can't do that in the new covenants, not for the men's first team.
So when you say they can't move, we talked about this last time. There is a scenario where Wrexham get too big for the racecourse.
Yes.
And we don't want to put the blockers on there, do we? Because, if they are thinking about a 40, 50,000 seater stadium, it can't be in that place, really, can it? So
one of the main points in this is that if at some point between now and 21-15, the club wish to move from the ground, they've got to build a UEFA Category 4 stadium within 2 miles of the racecourse. For those who aren't aware of UEFA Category 4 stadium, and that's me included before I embarked on this, you need things like 100 VIP seats. You need 150 VIP parking places. You need 10 commentary positions. You need space for 20 photographers. You've got to have a 50-seater press box.
Could I get a burger at half time? Because that's the key thing with Wrexham at the moment.
Do you know what? It's not in the documents, Andy, and I'm sorry. It's just too late to put in, mate. You should have talked to me beforehand.
It'll be waiting for you. It'll be waiting for you at your VIP parking spot.
Yeah. So that.
I was going to say, Barry, I don't like to criticise you, Barry, but that would have been the first thing I'd make sure was in there, to be honest. So I'm a bit disappointed by that.
He's got some reviews to. Oh, he hasn't now. Oh shit.
No, and also, the minimum standard is only 8,000 seats, but in general, it's about 30,000 seats. Right. So that's in the covenants, and for our current owners are not going to move from the racecourse if the total expenditure on various things, including the COP, is I understand is about 35 million. If you're spending that sort of money, you're not going to move us to the industrial estate to put us in an 8,000 seater stadium. Why would you?
No, you're right. Yeah.
So it's taken so long because of the tech. It's just a very technical thing. Well, one thing is the trust don't actually control the lease. There's a subsidiary of the trust.
Like this, Barry. Who do we have to go to now?
No. There's the company, and this will confuse people. It's called WST Assets, and there are three trustees. It was set up originally to stop a Hamilton. The complexity of all this has been very cleverly designed to stop another Hamilton taking place. Basically, the WST Assets control the leases. They're a 100% subsidiary of the trust. And of course, once the trust decide that they're going to do that, just in case anyone says, why is there just you and two others on this, on the trust? It's purely a defensive mechanism. In the same way that we got two leases. It's been set up very, very wisely. The bad news is that it does take a long time to unravel all these things.
No, I know, and some newer fans are sort of saying, "All right, we'll just hand it over to Ryan and Rob. They're not going to do us over." Look, the reason why we're not is twofold. One, it's law. we can't do it. Secondly, we're a club who's been burnt before, and as we keep saying, we're not worried about Ryan and Rob will do to the club, because we think they're honourable. We don't think they'll do anything bad to us. But what about the next person? What about the person after that? We can't go through losing our club more than once. We can't go through that again. That's why we're being so ultra careful about something so key as this. And that's why we thank you, Barry, and the legal counsel you've taken, and all the work you've gone through to this. And if you say this is the best deal for us, then I implore everyone to vote for it and push it through, and let's get this COP started.
Thanks, Andy. All I can say is I've been supporting this club since I've been 8 years of age. I've got the best interest. You may not like how quickly it's gone, and you might say, "Oh, we could have got a bit more money," but it's never been about the money. It's all about the future of the club. I'd just like to say that we will be receiving £187,000, which is the exact amount of money that we got from the bondholders. I can't stress enough that if you've put your £500 in, you've got your £1,000. Please, we're in a position to pay this off now. Rob and Ryan don't need your £500, your $750 for those who are watching overseas. And what we will do is we're aligned with the club on the power wheelchair people and the miners and stuff. So the money will not sit in the trust. The good news is we can't pay a dividend. We can't just spirit it away, and the membership will be consulted about other charities in North East Wales that will be supported. So it's good news all round. And going forwards, people say, "What's this £1,000 a year?" The club of a part of the legal document is at the start of each season they pay the trust £1,000 plus 3% every year to cope with inflation. This is to cover our statutory responsibilities with the Charities Commission, etc., so that we as custodians of the covenants will be still here in 100 years' time.
Barry, thanks very much for that. Right, we need to talk a bit more generally about the COP. I want to come to Tommy, who looks like a Force ghost, but apparently
not a police Force ghost, a Star Wars Force ghost.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, a Star Wars Force ghost. You look like Anakin Skywalker at the end of Return of the Jedi, where you're just about to do a dance with an Ewok.
With a tash of Tom Selleck.
Tommy, what do we need to do next?
This is the geekiest podcast I've ever been on in my entire life, by the way.
Behave.
It's geeky because it's a quite. I'm, as you know, I'm nothing to do with the legal profession. I'm a packaging engineer, so I know nothing. My knowledge of this is the same as yours. But in the last, since February, by God, have I learned a lot of terms I'd never thought I'd after using conversation with anybody.
But Barry, what do you know about Star Wars?
Dance with Ewoks? Great. I'm old enough to remember seeing the original film.
I went to the original film.
I went to Hippodrome to watch it in Wrexham.
Buddy, there's people who are about 6 years old who've seen the original film, mate. They might be old enough to have seen the original film.
No, but I was there the first time round it came out. Probably paid, I don't know, about 15p or something to go watch it.
You went to the Odeon with Albert Kinsey to watch it, mate, yeah?
I saw Zulu at the Odeon. I remember that. Albert Kinsey, my first hero. He was brilliant.
I think we digress, so we'll move away from the Hippodrome. Just for our American viewers, the Hippodrome was how can I put this? A bog standard cinema in the middle of Wrexham, where the Ryan Rodney Reynolds Park now is, Tim. Am I correct? Have they demolished it now?
Memorial Park, yeah, the Rodney Reynolds Memorial Park. Coming soon to a plot of land on Amblas Street near you.
I remember the person who used to sell the treats at the Hippodrome used to come out, and you could either buy a chalk ice or a pack of fags.
It's definitely getting geeky now. I'm in line with Tommy.
Okay, we're moving away from this, right? Tommy, Force Ghost, we need to talk about the rest of the COP, what we need to do now. So, right, what we got left? We got the substation, the sewage issues, the leases is done. Is there any financing that needs to be put into place? Are we ready to go after we've done those more building works, do you think?
Yeah, I believe my understanding at the moment, I've been off this for a few months now, but I mean, my understanding is that the funding is agreed, isn't it? I don't know.
The club are currently in discussions with the council, as without giving any secrets away. It's got ongoing right now. I'd also like to say that we, the trust, have been in touch with the council as well, because we don't want any, how can I put it, planning issues that have occurred with the the sewage and the water stuff. So yeah,
it's just a little bit disappointing for me that the proposed COP now, even though it'll still be built to the same sort of spec as was initially discussed, the capacity is going to be capped, isn't it? At least for, I think, am I right, for the first couple of years? Is that right?
Yeah, but what we mean by that is there'll be 5,500 seats in there. We just won't be able to sell 600 until we all stop pissing a little bit less. So basically, what we need you to do, Tommy, do your part on this. When you go to the turf, you can only have 2 pre-match pints rather than the customary 6.
Or
empty your bladder.
Yeah, well, I was just going to say, continue to have 6 and wear an adult nappy. That's probably the route I'm going to go down. So
okay, yep, fair enough.
Ever practical.
Sales in Wrexham have now have now quadrupled to 3. Right, yeah, but going back to it, the funding is in place. The sewage and the substation relocation. Now, I think Liam's come on and said before that even though the planning application for 5,500 has been knocked back, he thinks that's a rudimentary thing. He thinks that's just normal planning, and he thinks if that goes back in with more evidence, that will be passed. So, Tim, are you a builder? Do you know when we're going to start putting spades in the ground on this?
No idea. I haven't got a clue.
I was just going to say on this, I mean, it's a real shame for me that it has sort of not dragged on, but we initially thought, didn't we, it was going to be this August, and we need these seats now, don't we? We desperately need these seats as soon as possible. So that's a bit disappointing. I would imagine at this point, and this is just based on nothing other than looking at similar size stands that have sort of been built elsewhere, and these things take time. I think we're probably looking at 12 months further down the line. I don't know what you guys think.
Yeah. So we're not looking at the start of next season. Are you thinking the season after?
I would imagine so. But again, listen, I am no expert. I'm not an expert on anything. Never mind building regs, etc. But yeah, I mean, let's be honest. It's not getting ready by August, is it? I would hazard a guess it would be the following August. But yeah, that's just speaking to people and who know far more than me. But we need these seats as soon as possible. So hopefully we can get spades in the ground sooner rather than later.
Barry, do you concur? Do you think obviously next season's a bit too much of a pipe dream? Do you think we can get it built next season at all?
I think certainly from assuming that the 800 odd trust members, those who vote for it, that will take one of the not blockages, but we've never considered ourselves as blocking anything. We just want to make sure it's right. And once that's in place, that helps the club with the grant funding and all that sort of stuff. No idea how long it takes to move a substation or what have you. From our point of view, the good thing is that the people who said, "Oh, it's the trust holding everything up," went to prove it wasn't us. Even if we'd have sorted the lease out, you'd still have to change the substation and the sewerage stuff. So that's
I don't expect you to comment, Barry, but I suspect that was Sean being a bit mischievous to move things along there, wasn't it?
Oh, behave as if Sean Harvey would be mischievous about anything.
I couldn't possibly comment other than to say I agree with Sean on many, many things, but occasionally I don't.
He's got a future. He's got a future in politics. This guy. He's got a future in politics.
I want to get this deal over the line. I will tell you that in January, I thought their statement was premature.
Oh, very, very nicely put. However much it takes to move a substation, I'm pretty sure my mate Dazza from down the pub will do it for 500 quid less. So if you want to get in touch with him, we can move this forward.
Yeah, I've had suggestions about people who said my mate, who's a solicitor, is based in. I won't say which village in North Wales. He would have done this. He'd have got it shifted for you. These are serious suggestions that I have to respond to.
These are suggestions that we might have taken on board 20 years ago as well. So it's glad that we're not now. Right, let's bring it forward.
I was just going to say before I'm sorry to divert even further, but the fact that Andy these days has got a mate called Dazza down the pub, it's definitely Tarquin from the Huntsman in Knightsbridge or something like that, isn't it?
He owns the country the company rather than will operate the digger. You are right. Thanks for that. Just because I'm talking from the suburb of Chiswick. Right, let's move this forward a bit. Let's look about next week. Harrogate, I don't know what to think. Last time we went to a tight enclosed ground where really they were really going to put one up us. They did. Tim, what do you think? Do you think Harrogate are going to be much of a problem after a 6-0, or is it going to be tighter than we think? What I mean by this is, look at the games we've lost this season. We've lost to Accrington. It's a really tight pitch where they use every trick in the book to try and get one over on us. And I think Harrogate are going to be the same, aren't they?
Yeah, but we don't want to become one of those teams where we start performing a pattern of struggling against away from home, because we know what we're about at home. We're very, very good, and they're smart enough after losing at Crawley. I think they're quite reasonable at home from what I can remember, Harrogate. So I don't know. A few of their players will have a point to prove about the whole Armstrong stuff as well. So that's got like an added edge to it. I think we'll be all right. I think we had a kick in the balls at Stockport, and it sorted us out. We had a kick in the balls at Accrington, that sorted us out. So I just think, play to our strengths, just keep going. It's not going to be 6-0, far from it, but I think we'll win. And a nice little breather then for some of those players for the FA Cup game on Sunday.
Barry, is it going to be another 10-match unbeaten run after our Accrington?
Yeah, we've got that aura about us that we've had in previous promotion seasons. It's I hate to say it, I've seen 5, and I've just got the feeling about it that it's going to this once again. It's going to be our season. I think we'll win. No idea how many, but I'm quietly confident we'll do it.
Tommy, you do concur?
Yeah, agree with all of the above, to be fair. Accrington was just a horrible, horrible day. I hate the term bad day at the office because, I think, you do need to look back at games like that and see where it went wrong and learn from it. So you can't just dismiss it. But, to got to hand it to the lads and Phil Parkinson as well, to come back from a horrible, horrible performance and absolutely batter someone 6-0 with an outstanding performance, no matter how bad they were, was brilliant. So I think we're back. I think we're back on the horse now. I think we will win. It'd be a tight game. Like Tim said, we won't batter them, I don't think. But yeah, nice little tight 2-0 win, I think.
2-0, 2-0. Right. What I think is, I think as this season goes on, our squad will really come into its own. So teams who have a few star players may lose them due to suspension, may lose them due to injury, and can't bring in players of the same caliber. I think we can every part of that team. And if we have to shift things around a little bit, we can. I mean, if you think about Notts County, we lost O'Connell just before. We shifted to a very much a ball playing back three, and we went on a run there. You know, we've got enough adaptability and quality in that squad to go on another 10-match unbeaten run. And like you, I think we'll win. I think it will be 2-1. Tim, can I get a score from you?
1-0. 1-0.
Barry?
Yeah. I think we'll have a clean sheet. Whether I'll go 2-0 as well.
Right. And then the magic of the FA Cup. So I've heard that we're going to watch it in the Sheephaven, Barry. I heard it's the London Reds Christmas drink.
It is
so
indeed.
I will let my employers know the next day that I might work from home.
I will be on the train the following morning to come up to Wrexham because it is the obviously the one of the biggest meetings of the trust history.
Okay.
Probably third only to the formation of the trust and the sale of the club. So
right, you are having 3 pints, Barry, and I am going to breathalyze you on the way out. So stick to miles.
Good luck with that, Andy.
You're a lot bigger than me, but I'm going to try my best.
Good man. Good man.
Right, what do we think about Yeovil then? It's just not as easy as we think, isn't it? Yeovil are pretty good at springing a cup shock. No one thinks they're going to do anything. It's on the telly. Barry, can we do this? I'm more worried about this one than I am about Harrogate, I'll be honest.
I think Parky, because of the next round could be so lucrative, I think he'll play his strongest or the best 11 that he wants. It won't be an experimental 11 by any means. Yeovil are doing very well in their league, but they are 2 leagues lower than us, and they'll raise the game, and they'll bring a few fans, and they won't have forgotten that it was us that relegated them only a few months ago. Well, it won't be 3-0 to us.
Now, Barry, you've just bloody reminded them.
I don't think it needs me to remind them, if you're a Yeovil fan, where you got relegated, particularly if you made the journey all the way up there.
Yeah, I'm just about forgiven Lincoln.
Yeah,
no, it wasn't Lincoln, was it?
Hereford.
It wasn't Lincoln, was it?
It was Hereford.
Yeah.
It was
I'm
Hereford.
not forgiving those fuckers. Right.
Oh, God, no. Anyway, yeah.
Give us a score.
I think it'll be close. I think it'll be 2-1 to us. I think our class will shine through, but it will be close because they've got nothing to lose. They're a fine cup.
They're flying.
They're flying.
They're doing really well.
Fine cup history. Obviously, they're playing in front of 10,000. When they're playing in the National League South, it's a massive big game for them and their supporters. I think they're up for it.
Tommy, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, fair comments from everyone. Won't be easy, but I think our class will shine through. I'm gonna go for a 3-0. I think comfortable in the end, but I think they might. I think they might hold us first half, and then our class will shine through second half. 3-0, I think.
Tommy, just on your new sort of role as Men in Blazers roving reporter, are you going to be doing the Saturday games, or are you going to be doing the Tuesday games as well? Just so we know what to look out for.
Yeah, I mean we're going to be doing both. I'm not 100% on how we're going to actually package it at the moment, but yeah, I'll be going to I'll be going to all the games. Love the term roving reporter, so thank you for that, mate.
Man about town, I was going to say, to be honest.
And
but,
I think that probably suits me a bit more. I think roving reporter gives me an undeserved gravitas. I certainly don't deserve that. So yeah, absolutely love it though, mate. Sort of up my street, going into pubs, chatting with fans, and and it's more for sort of an American audience, but it's for everyone as well, obviously. And hopefully people enjoy it both sides of the pond.
Tommy, can I just say congratulations on being paid to go into the turf to talk to people? Because last time I spoke to you, you were talking to me even though you weren't getting paid.
Well, that's what made him demand payment, Barry. That's what made him demand payment.
Yeah, you think, God, I got to speak to this Barry Jones bloke. I refuse to do that. Yeah.
But Barry was a few pints deep at that point, but he doesn't quite remember he was buying me drinks all night. So that was a good night, that Baz. Yeah.
My pleasure and privilege, Tom.
Yeah, Tommy, congrats, because to make some money off this, it's great. I mean, we all sort of thought the American audience, but what can we really do to I don't know, to get some finance for it? And to be honest, mate, I'm glad it's you.
You're a top man, mate. I really appreciate that. I really appreciate that, lads. Very, very kind of you. And I'm very, very lucky to do it, because let's be honest, there's probably 50 to 100 people who could do the same thing and do it justice as well. So I'm very lucky to be asked, and just hope it goes well, goes down well with everyone.
Nice one. Tim, bring us back down to earth. Yeovil at home. What do you reckon?
Before I get to my prediction, whilst it's still fresh in my mind, the Arthur Okonkwo songbook is firmly shut this week. I'm drained. I'm tired, so I'll reopen it next week when I've had a flash of inspiration. But until then, we'll have to make do with your incessant drunken ramblings, Gilpin.
I mean, I've had one glass of red wine.
You say it's one glass. It's eighth glass, isn't it? Your eighth glass, don't lie. Anyway,
Tim, I'm sorry to interrupt you, mate. I was just going to say it's probably worth giving a shout out to our friend Sammy, who came up with a good one to Simple Minds, mate. We're not going to sing it here, but she had a decent.
She did tell me that I could use it.
Arthur Okonkwo.
No, don't.
No, it was the other one. It was. What was it? Don't You Forget About Me. I think it was 2, wasn't it? But they are. Yeah, that's one for another day.
Apparently that was. Yeah. Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
It's one for another day. Can we move away from this? Just quickly give us a Yeovil, and it will wipe everyone's memory clean of your Arthur chance.
I'm inclined to think it's going to be a lot tougher than a lot of people realise. They're one of the very few teams that have come here and beaten us in the last 3 years. So that, plus the last time we played Yeovil in FA Cup tie on the telly, I got kicked out at half-time at Huish Park. So I really hope we hammer them. So I'm going to go, my head says a 2-0 win. My heart says I really hope it's something like 6. Just because of my vested interest.
I'm going to have to ask, what did you get chucked out for?
We were so shite. I think we lost that game 4-1 or 4-0. And we were something like 3 down at half time. And I was so angry. Like, it was a similar sort of thing to Morecambe's capitulation yesterday. There's just no fight. So I was furious, and I was just giving a bit of abuse at our own players, quite rightly so. And that was the days where I would have a beverage or two. So the steward said, "Can I have a word with you?" And I was like, "What?" Because just have a word with you by here. And then
that's a bad start. Yeah. That's like a VAR, isn't it? Come and look at the screen.
He basically coaxed me out to buy the gate. And he said, the word I wanted to have is, "You're not coming back in." And I realised he'd sort of like laid a trail for me.
That's
that's another reason why I give up the booze. Foolish. So yeah, but I was the real winner because I watched the second half in the confines of the coach outside in the dry whilst it poured down. So yeah, there you go. There's my story.
Needless to say, I had the last laugh, which I think Tommy will get, but most of the other podcasts won't. Right, on that bombshell, I think we're going to tie this up. Any more?
No. I don't think there's no women's game
One
this
thing
week.
I do want to say is we were going to bring you an interview with Josh Briscoe, who's one of the executive producers on Welcome to Wrexham, but this was flowing so well, I didn't want to add another hour's interview into something that's already been knocking on for an hour, because that's just too much for everyone. So we're going to bring you that next week with a pared down intro. But yeah, thanks very much for joining us, and from me, it's good night.
Thank you for having me on. Cheers, chaps. I'll see some of you sooner, others of you later.
You're listening to this during daylight hours. I'm not going to say goodnight. Just cheers for listening.
Okay, yeah. All right then. Bloody pedantic. All right. Bye-bye.
Ta-ra.